Do you tend to put things off until the very last moment, only to suddenly feel a burst of energy that pushes you to finish the task quickly? Or are you the kind of person who lets things drag on for years, simply because there's no set time frame and you feel like you can always get to it later? Both are forms of procrastination, one where urgency eventually kicks in and one where it never does. The second type is especially costly because projects can stretch on for decades, with valuable opportunities slipping away in the process. Why do we procrastinate in the first place? For many people, it's a habit developed over years as a way to avoid stress. By putting things off, you give yourself temporary relief, even if it means wasting valuable time that could be used to complete the task. Some researchers suggest procrastination helps people cope with pressure, while others link it to impulsive behavior. In fact, every time you choose to delay, you may be indulging the impulsive side of your brain.
We really, really want to achieve. It's very important to us. We're driven. Maybe you've heard that word used to describe you. But we're also fearful of failure and what it means. So we have two sources of motivation. So in fact, procrastination in many cases, the cause of that is we're over-motivated. We're overly striving, both away and towards something. And that's what we've learned, that procrastinators are actually not less motivated than the average person, although that's what they say, or I'm lazy, or I don't have time management. Those are really not typically the causes. What it is a feeling of stuckness. Two countervailing forces. We are driven towards success on the one hand, but we are strongly and powerfully motivated to avoid failure on the other. And we feel this stuckness, these countervailing forces. And many people describe procrastination as being stuck or against a wall, an obstacle they can't get over. Does that sound right to you?
There's also a scientific explanation. The limbic system, the primitive part of the brain, controls survival instincts such as fight or flight. The prefrontal cortex, on the other hand, handles logical thinking and planning. These two areas are often in competition for control over our actions. The prefrontal cortex pushes us to complete tasks because they're beneficial for our studies, careers, or businesses.
But the prefrontal cortex is always overruled by another part of the brain, and that's called the limbic system. That's the part of our brain where emotions are processed. It's a part of the brain that's way older from an evolutionary perspective than the prefrontal cortex. And you could say if these two are in a fight, the limbic system will always win.
If the limbic system interprets tasks as stressful or threatening, it defaults to fight or flight mode. Its first reaction is to steer you away from the task. This is the flight mode, which we often recognize as procrastination. But as the deadline draws closer, the response can shift to fight mode. That's when your body floods with cortisol and adrenaline, sharpening focus and boosting energy so you can power through. Some people even come to enjoy this rush, which is why they intentionally put things off until the last possible moment. But what happens when there's no built-in urgency? In that case, the fight response may never be triggered. Instead, the project lingers unfinished, sometimes for years. While this can feel like a safe way to avoid pressure, it also means watching time pass without progress and losing out on opportunities that could have been seized much earlier. That's why it's important to set milestones. For personal goals, this could mean defining a clear objective, such as buying a house by a certain age, moving up the career ladder within a set period, or reaching financial independence by a specific stage in life. By setting out your ambitions with a clear plan, they move from dreams to being one step closer to reality. Without it, goals risk never being completed. In conclusion, procrastination is something we all experience, whether it's putting things off until the last moment or letting projects drag on for years. The good news? You can take control. One way is by reducing the stress that triggers your flight mode, which often shows up as procrastination. That's not always easy, but with the right tools like Easy Task, you can make it manageable. And by setting clear milestones and building a sense of urgency, you can shift into fight mode and finally make progress on personal goals that don't have a specific timeline. Start small, take action, and watch your ideas grow from dreams into reality. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. And stay tuned for more tips on overcoming procrastination with Easy Task.